America is in danger. Hollywood legends Robert De Niro and Morgan Freeman can no longer remain silent. They openly declare, Trump is a threat to democracy. But why? What do they see that others don't? Why are they sure that his return to the White House could lead to disaster? This video will not leave you indifferent, because it is impossible to ignore their words. Here's one of Morgan Freeman's quotes to start with: "Friends, just listen. To be honest, it seems that we are living in some of the most dangerous times since the attacks on our country. America has experienced many political storms, but the years of Donald Trump's presidency felt completely different. It wasn't just a clash of different political views. It was chaos, mass outrage, and a sense that the country had become more divided than ever before. From his fiery speeches to radical policy changes, the Trump presidency has shaken the foundations of the state. Friends, do you remember how some saw in him a determined leader who was not afraid to openly express his position, while others believed that he was tearing the country apart? And when the situation worsens, especially when it comes to a national crisis, the voices of people with influence become louder. It was at this point that two Hollywood legends, Morgan Freeman and Robert De Niro, entered the discussion. These people are not just actors. They are cultural icons, voices that have been trusted and listened to for decades. Their careers involve roles that reflect America's struggles, triumphs, and the darkest moments of history. But this time they weren't playing a role, they were speaking for themselves. They were outraged and could not remain silent. Morgan Freeman has openly stated that America is going through one of the most dangerous periods in its history. Robert De Niro even called Trump a gangster who runs the country like the head of a mafia. Their words are not just passing comments, but serious warnings from people who have been watching the development of America for decades and who do not like what they are seeing now. And they are not alone in this opinion. Here's another quote from Morgan Freeman: "Friends, we are really in a very bad situation. I remember talking to you about 5 or 6 years ago. I was at Spring Studios, we were discussing something, and I said, what just happened couldn't have happened, but it happened. And now we are faced with a situation in which the truth itself is being questioned. We are witnessing a massive denial of reality, and it is frightening. Even the speeches he makes are crazy. It's just crazy. And I, like many others, am very concerned about this. We're all worried. It's really crazy. So I felt like I had to do something, to say something about it, to declare it openly." Morgan Freeman is not the kind of person who gets involved in political debates for the sake of attracting attention. When he speaks, people listen to him because his voice sounds confident, wise, and authoritative. And his remarks about the state of America today should serve as a wake-up call for everyone. He is convinced that the greatest threat to the country does not come from external enemies or economic difficulties, although they also play a role. The danger comes from within, from disinformation and a leader who, in his opinion, has never been fit to lead the country. And he is far from the only one who thinks so. Many experts warned that democracy itself was under threat under Trump. Attacks on the media, ignoring the facts and striving for absolute power have transformed the country from a symbol of freedom into a ticking time bomb. Freeman sharply criticized Trump's policies, arguing that they did not strengthen America, but weakened it. Rising racial tensions, an increase in the number of extremist groups that felt emboldened, and chaos in key government institutions have all become part of his presidency. Freeman also questioned Trump's ability to handle crises responsibly, highlighting his unpredictability and incompetence. He has never been shy in his expressions when talking about the president, whether in interviews or public appearances. He worries that history already knows examples of what power, concentrated in the hands of a man who puts his ego above the interests of the country, leads to. And he sees that America is heading for instability today because of a leader who cares more about his image than his job. The Democratic National Convention really wants a woman president, doesn't it? Said Freeman. I want that too. Maybe I even really want to. But most importantly, it's time for us to move away from the old white men running the country. But it's not about politics. It's about the survival of the country that Morgan Freeman loves. And if a man like him is worried, then maybe the rest of America should think about it too. Robert De Niro doesn't just criticize Donald Trump either. He despises him and doesn't hesitate to talk about it openly. He calls Trump a novice gangster, a dictator in the process of learning. These are not just offensive words. This is a blow to the very image of Trump. De Niro has made it clear that he sees him as a leader who rules through fear, lies, and intimidation. Trump demands absolute loyalty, attacks those who doubt him, and does his best to control the information space. America has always been proud of its freedom, but today that freedom is under threat. And if people like Freeman and De Niro are sounding the alarm, it means that it's time for everyone to take a close look at reality and think about the future of the country. It reminds De Niro of the power-hungry criminals he portrayed on screen, but unlike movies, it's not entertainment, it's real life. In his eyes, America was played out. Here is a quote from Robert De Niro from an old interview. "I think it all started with that. I became interested in Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton is the man. Did he personally involve you in this? Or did you just see him and think, oh, this is the guy who I think will be with us for a while?" De Niro's anger is caused not only by Trump himself, but also by what he believes Trump has done to the country. De Niro warned that Trump's influence has made hatred and disagreement more acceptable. The way people are being encouraged to ignore the facts and believe everything Trump says scares him. De Niro didn't just speak out, he was loud. From the award ceremonies to the interviews, he used every possible platform to warn people about the dangers of Trump's leadership. In 2018, he made headlines at the Tony Awards ceremony when he shouted "To hell with Trump" on live television. He urged people to vote, criticized Trump's attacks on the media, and even said he wanted to punch him in the face. We're at a point in our lives where this guy is like a gangster. He came and did what we've been discussing over and over again. It's horrible. We're in a terrible position. And this guy just keeps going on and on. The day after his election, I said, well, give him a chance. You never know what you're going to see. But it turned out to be worse than I could ever have imagined. When Morgan Freeman and Robert De Niro talk, people listen. Their voices are echoing not only in Hollywood, but they reach millions of people around the world. Therefore, when they took a firm stand against Donald Trump, the reaction was immediate and intense. For many Americans, their words resonated. Freeman and De Niro weren't just famous actors. They were respected personalities with decades of authority. Their fears reflected what millions were already feeling: fear, frustration, and a sense that the country was heading in the wrong direction. Supporters praised them for their courage, for using their platforms to challenge a powerful leader. But not everyone saw it that way. The Trump base rejected them as elites divorced from reality. They were accused of trying to lecture real Americans from their Hollywood mansions. De Niro especially faced intense backlash. His unfiltered attacks on Trump caused outrage among conservatives, with many calling for a boycott of his films. Freeman, although less aggressive in tone, has also been criticized for interfering in politics. Some argued that actors should engage in entertainment and stay away from government affairs. But because Freeman and De Niro firmly opposed Trump, they added their names to the long list of public figures who refused to remain silent. When writing history, Donald Trump has never ignored criticism, especially if it came from senior figures. So when Morgan Freeman and Robert De Niro stood up to him, he did what he always does. Trump called them radical leftists and overrated actors. He called De Niro a man with a low IQ and ridiculed his career, saying that he got too many blows to the head playing tough guys in movies. Donald Trump's supporters greeted his attacks with enthusiasm, seeing them as proof that he was not afraid to stand up to the so-called Hollywood elite. Morgan Freeman, on the other hand, received less direct reactions from Trump himself, but his criticism often concerned the broader category of fake news and liberal propaganda. "I love this city. I don't want to destroy it," Freeman said, while Trump, in his opinion, sought to destroy not only the city, but also the country, and ultimately could lead to the destruction of the entire world. When Trump ran for president in the 2016 presidential election, it was perceived as a joke. He was like some kind of comedian running for president. Who would have thought he was serious? Trump has thrived on conflict, and instead of ignoring celebrity criticism, he has turned it into a political weapon, using it to reinforce his idea that Hollywood and the media allegedly want to destroy him. His strategy has worked, and his support base has strengthened. This created a chasm between those who saw him as a truthful man and those who considered him a dangerous force in American politics. Despite all the attacks from Trump, Morgan Freeman and Robert De Niro never backed down. De Niro continued to publicly criticize Trump, calling him a threat to democracy, and used every opportunity to warn Americans about the consequences of another Trump term as president. Freeman, although less aggressive, also continued to speak openly about the dangers he believed Trump posed to the country's future, despite the backlash. Their influence did not decrease, but on the contrary, it only became louder because for them it was not only about Trump, but also about what America would be like when he was gone. The government, as President Lincoln said, created by the people and for the people, will not disappear from the face of the earth under Trump. Such a government will disappear from the face of the earth, said Freeman. I don't want to scare you. No, wait, maybe I really want to scare you. If Trump returns to the White House, you can say goodbye to those freedoms that we all take for granted, and the election. Forget about it. It's going to be over. It's over. If he comes back, I can tell you right now that he will never leave. He will never leave. Morgan Freeman and Robert De Niro didn't perform for the attention. They did this because they saw that the country was in danger. Whether it was Trump's leadership, the divisions he fomented, or threats to democracy, they refused to remain silent. Some supported them, others ignored their words. But one thing was clear: their voices mattered. Now it's up to people to decide what kind of future they want for their country. The conversation is not over yet. Friends, now I want to express my opinion. I have the utmost respect for Morgan Freeman and Robert De Niro. These legendary actors, whose talent and life path inspire millions of people around the world, have shown incredible courage by speaking openly about politics and its consequences. When I read their statements, I was literally shocked by their frankness and determination. This is not just criticism, it is a signal that they see a danger to the country and to the world as a whole, and they cannot remain silent witnesses of what is happening. Their voices are not just audible. They sound like an alarm, a call to action, and it's impressive. However, I would like to remind everyone who perceives these words that such statements should be treated with caution. These are not just emotions, but a serious political statement, and every word in such a situation carries weight. We live in difficult times, and such statements can become a spark that will ignite even greater division in society. Let's not forget that behind such words, there are not only feelings and experiences, but also a huge responsibility. We need to analyze each word more carefully and remember that the real threat is not only words, but also the consequences that they can cause. If you think this conversation is important, please like it, share it, and continue the discussion because silence doesn't change anything. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. See you in the next video.